So, you want to make a fan character and don't know where to start? Well, have we got just the thing for you, since that's all I've been doing for literally the past 5 years. Now, first things first, I want to make it extremely clear that there's no wrong or right way to make a fan character. It is entirely based off of how canon compliant you want it to be, but there are a few tips and tricks to avoid getting a lot of harassment or hate because you made one that people didn't like. Also, if people don't like your fan character, they should check it up. You made it for yourself, and if you chose to post about it, you had every right to do that. It's just part of fandom culture, and people that hate that are just being babies. So, tip number 1, start off with either a self-insert, an insert of another OC into that universe, or someone related to one of the main characters, or your favorite character. Now, if I'm gonna get a flag for any of my tips, it's going to be this one. Guarantee it. And that is because this is a tip that most people actually discourage from, and I think that's pretty stupid, because, truth be told, to make a character, you need some sort of basis. An idea, a storyline, something. So why shouldn't that something be something you're already familiar with? Another one of yours is you're already familiar with that? You made that. One of the characters in this show or series or universe. Why not? You're familiar with them as well. Yourself, make it a self-insert. Why not? You're familiar with yourself, and trust me, no matter how you start, your OC is going to evolve. So there really is no point in being paranoid or worried about how they started, because at the end of their journey, I guarantee you they're going to look way different. Maybe in design, maybe in story, maybe in both. Now, tip number 2 is very similar to tip number 1, but for those of us who are less shameless. So that tip is extremely simple. Find a collective group of characters, for example, the Golden Guards from the Owl House, and make one of them an OC. Now, it doesn't have to be that important. Now, you might be saying, okay, that's pretty niche though. What large groups of people do it? I'm gonna stop you right there. Races. So for example, let's say you want to make the Dragon Prince OC. What you could do is be like, okay, what type of elf do you want them to be? Do I even want them to be an elf? And you can choose on, for example, you could choose a Moon Shadow Elf. And you can go from there because, again, Moon Shadow Elves are this huge group of people that we know exist, but not every face has a name. So it's a really easy way of just saying, yep, I'm using that, this is the basis for my character. And that is honestly a pretty common technique, and if you want to use it, I don't think anybody's gonna be giving you the side eye. Now, what will upset because of tip number 3? Make a design first. Not every design needs a story. You can literally just make a design and think of a story as you make the design, or after you've made the design, or never at all. Who says you need a story? You can just have a pretty design, babe. It's fine. Nobody's gonna care. Tip number 4. Go onto Character AI, find a Character AI of a character in the show, and start role-playing with them, and you slowly but surely start making up a character. Honestly, the hardest part about that is giving them a name right off the bat. Now that we have, the basics of how you can start making your OC or fan character, let's get into some design details. Tip number 1, look up online for color palettes. Maybe you can find something that matches the vibe, or you can get inspiration for colors you can use on your own design. Tip number 2, look at other people's OCs in the same universe. See how other people have tackled making a character in that universe. Now, this should go without saying, but I'm not saying to steal people's OCs. What I'm simply saying is using them for inspiration if you can't think of what type of pants or what type of style they should be dressed. Or maybe you have a cool idea for an outfit, but you're not sure how to translate that into that universe because that universe is devoid of pretty lace or something. It's a good thing to get inspiration and give yourself an idea on how you want to approach this thing. Now, Tip number 3 is in a very similar vein, but it's kind of the opposite. How are you going to break the design conventions? Because, newsflash, you can totally break design conventions of a universe if you so fucking please. Or for example, let's go back to that totally hypothetical Dragon Prince character. Maybe they don't dress like a stereotypical Moonshadow Elf because they were not raised among them. Maybe they were raised by humans, maybe they were raised by a different kind of elf. maybe there's something in their genetics that means that they don't have white hair and purple eyes. Who's to say? Tip number 4, this should be of no surprise. Look at Pinterest for clothing inspirations for what they might be dressed similarly, but also kind of a different vein. So you could technically count this as tip number 5, which I'm going to do. You can also go onto like Dress Up Game and use that as a basis, as a jumping off point to make a basic design. Tip number 6, don't be afraid to experiment with your design, color palettes, or whatever. Like, yes, or else they can look like any typical other character in that universe, or they can just not. Honestly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting creative and making something that doesn't even look like it would really fit if that's what you want to do. And again, you can always rework the design at a later date to make it something you'd want. And hey, maybe it's the start to making an original story of your own because you like the design so much. Who knows? Don't be afraid to get messy. What tip is this? Whatever. I forgot the numbers. Another tip that is similar but also a bit iffy and honestly depends is taking inspiration from video game characters. So like Genshin Impact, a League of Legends, stuff like that. And I'm not saying making a copy or copy the design. I'm saying use it as inspiration. Because honestly, I've seen that work. One of my friends makes that work wonders. Next tip, base it off of some sort of animal. You would be surprised how often this works. Another thing like similar to that people I think tend to avoid because it has a bit of a negative rep is to just pick something you like. Flowers, gardening, dish, and whatever, and base their design around that. And that is pretty much it for like design-based tips. I don't think I have anything else. Now, even if none of these tips really helped you, I hope you at least found this video entertaining, and I hope, if nothing else, you can take this last piece of advice. Make whatever you want to make. It doesn't matter if other people don't like it, or if other people find it bad, or cringy, or whatever. First of all, cringe is dead. Cringe is not actual thing. You all want to know what cringe is? It's people that like the same thing that you do, or want to do a similar thing to what you're doing, but can't do it because they just don't let themselves enjoy things anymore for whatever reason. And they take it out on you because you decided to do it because it's something that you liked and you said, to hell with what other people think. And they can't do that and they get mad at us. But honestly, that's their problem. I hope they learn. I hope they grow up, honestly. But until they do, there's no reason to actually listen to them. Now, some people will have constructive criticism, but you are free to ignore it. Especially if it's a character you make for fun. So if you liked this video, let me know. If you didn't like this video, also let me know. I doubt there's gonna be too many of these either way. Now, have a wonderful whatever time it is for you. And remember, stay creative, but most importantly, stay safe out there.